How to tell if you are a normie. What the hell is a normie, Michael? A normie is a unique species, actually not that unique. It's very common. 99% of people are normies. Ordinary, average, mediocre, normies, normal. Bootlickers instead of badasses. What I mean by that is I don't care where you work. If you work for the man, I don't care if it's Wall Street or Main Street or sweeping streets or how much money you make. You're a normie if you work for the man. In other words, if you can't stop what you're doing and watch your kid's baseball game, or stop what you're doing and take an afternoon nap, or stop what you're doing and take a vacation with your queen, or stop what you're doing and go to the gym and train, or stop what you're doing and attend a seminar or a boot camp to improve yourself, you're a normie. But the biggest key secret, the biggest giveaway for me when I'm measuring a man or a woman to see whether they're a normie bootlicker or not is this simple test. Do you spend money? Do you spend money on entertainment? To sedate, to medicate, to escape what's happening in your world. I'm going to say that again. It's so powerful and so accurate and so truthful. It's going to make a lot of people squirm. Do you waste your money to escape, to self-medicate, to escape reality? Do you spend money on entertainment? We now live in the entertainment age. We don't live in the information age. We live in the entertainment age. The average normie spends now over 8 hours a day scrolling on their iPhone. That's a Forbes magazine study that came out 2 months ago. Over 8 hours, waking hours a day, a normie is doom scrolling, anti-social media, fake politics, bought and paid for news, gambling, porn, gaming, YouTube, twits and twitters, Instagram, whatever you want to talk about, that narcissistic garbage, that trash. 8 hours a day scrolling on their phone. So if the average normie sleeps 7 or 8 hours a night, which is certainly questionable, most normies are exhausted, fatigued, depressed, anxious, sad. But let's just give a normie the benefit of the doubt. If they do sleep for 6 or 7 or 8 hours, that leaves 16 hours of their day, 17 hours of their day. They're spending 50%, no less than 50% of their time, on entertainment. So my list of normie entertainment, and I'm far from perfect in this regard. We do subscribe to Netflix. Krista and I will watch a tape show about 4 or 5 nights a week, 45 minutes, that's it. We don't watch regular television. But my list of normie giveaways as terms of entertainment, of course, I mentioned anti-social media. If you're involved in that swamp of toxicity, that narcissistic swamp, if you have those apps on your phone, Flakebook, BoobTube, Instagram, like the great Bill Belichick calls Snapface, if you're involved in any of those narcissistic swamps of anti-social media, By the way, that quote came from the Tupperware company CEO. I stole that one from the Tupperware CEO, anti-social media. I forgot about that, and I got to give credit where credit is due. He is not a normie, by the way, one of my favorite CEOs. So if you have those apps on your phone or on your computer and you're in and out of anti-social media, you're a normie. You're an absolute normie. Another one, of course, is gambling, pornography, gaming, regular television, and a big one too with my guys is an addiction to pro sports. Now, coming from a guy like myself who was a minor pro hockey coach, it's an odd thing to talk about, but when you think about it, I admittedly turned my back on pro sports 3 years ago. I just couldn't watch it anymore. I couldn't turn on the television on a Sunday or a Thursday. I could no longer justify escaping and turning on NFL football or Major League Baseball or college football, all sports that I love. I just could not sacrifice that time with my queen and my daughter to listen to anti-America, anti-freedom, virtue signaling, dumb as dirt, low IQ, $1 million athletes virtue signaling. I love to watch basketball. I love to watch hockey. I love to watch, baseball and football. But man, oh man, when I started turning on my television 3-4 years ago, and all I got to see was, overpriced and overrated, low IQ athletes kneeling during the national anthem and telling us how we should raise our children and how America is the worst place on earth and how freedom and disrespecting our military and our entrepreneurs and overall, toxic masculinity and all these fun subjects. I just vote it with my feet and my wallet. And I just, you know what? How do I do it? I will watch the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl. I will watch the fourth quarter of the college national championships. I will watch, the last few innings of the World Series. Even my number one sport, hockey, I'll watch like the third period of a Game 7 in the NHL playoffs. But as far as sitting down and watching a game for 3 hours or whatever it is, I just don't do it anymore. That time is now given back to my queen, to my kid, and because I don't want to be a normie. Being consumed and addicted to pro sports, scrolling it on your phone, ESPN, that progressive company I want nothing to do with. Like, that's all bootlicker normie behavior, so I've turned my back completely on it. So it's an interesting thing, is you just have to look at how you entertain yourself. Do you do it to self-medicate? Do you do it to sedate and escape? And if you do, well, you're a normie. You're like 99% of the quiet desperation. So if you want to transition from being a normal bootlicker, again, I don't care how much money you make. I mean, a guy like Stephen A. Smith is the ultimate actor bootlicker. Doesn't matter that he's the highest priced personality over at ESPN. They own his ass. And the reason that he's been put in his position as number one go-to sports guy is because he's willing to put on the knee pads when necessary and support whatever new progressive agenda they're positioning. So they got their guy, right? Stephen A. Smith doesn't think. Stephen A. Smith is told what to say, what to support. And if he ever stood up against Goliath, if he ever stood up against Big Brother, if he ever stood up against the Matrix and spoke his own thinking in his own mind, he would be curated the next second. He'd be gone. He'd be the next Don Cherry. He would be the next Tucker Carlson. I mean, Tucker stood up, and he's a principled guy. He believes in his values, and he did the right thing, and it cost him his job. But you know what? That's where anti-social media can come in handy, because Tucker is kicking ass and taking names on twits and Twitters. So enough about those guys. You're either a bootlicker normie in this world, or you are a badass, a top 1% badass who thinks independently, thinks for yourself. You don't think what I think. I'm here emphasizing to think for yourself. I mean, do your own thing, but start thinking for yourself and asking yourself those questions. Does this make sense? And does this seem right? And then get rid of all that. Like, we're possibly going into a major downturn, maybe not in the economy. It could be a massive downturn. This could be, shit hits the fan 2024, 2025. Maybe it'll be a soft landing. Nobody knows. Or maybe we might fall into a depression 2.0 over the next 5 years. Who knows? Both my mom and dad were born into the last depression in 1933, so I have the stories. It can happen and will happen again. But the thing is people that are normies, no matter how tough times get, no matter how tough the economy get, they'll spend their last $10, their last $5 on entertainment. And like I said earlier, the biggest defining characteristic of whether you're a normie or whether you're a badass is this. Do you spend your money, like I said, on entertainment, or do you spend your money on education? Now, this is incredibly self-serving because I'm in the education business, so to speak. I mean, I'm a consultant, I'm a coach, I sell books, I sell programs, I sell, memberships. So I'm in the education niche. But here's the thing. You know what a normie does when shit hits the fan? You know what a normie does when CNN tells him that there's a recession coming? You know what a normie does when things starting to tighten? He cuts his education. He cuts his newsletter membership. He stops buying books. He stops investing in himself. That's a dead giveaway. But he doesn't stop investing in Netflix. He doesn't stop investing in his cell phone. He doesn't stop investing in gambling, and doesn't stop investing in pro sport. So when shit hits the fan, it's one or the other, right? It's one or the other for you and me, brother. It's either, okay, I'm going to cut out all that normie entertainment, which admittedly I've cut 90% of it out of my world. I want nothing to do with that toxic, narcissistic garbage. But I've also doubled down on my own personal education. Sure, I'm a coach and a consultant, and the more a person spends with me, the better for yours relentless. But I walk the talk. Like, I spent over $100,000 last year on my self-education, because a badass is always investing in themselves. Men like Paul Nolte and Stephen Ivanko and Bill Gaw and David Linton, those guys are like, no matter what the economy, those guys are badasses. They're the opposite of a normie. Like, they invest tens of thousands of dollars in masterminds and coaching programs and newsletters, and it just goes on, because they're not investing all their money in sedating and self-medicating with toxic entertainment. So for you, I guess the question becomes now, here we are into a brand new year. What are you? Is your thinking and behavior Is that, are you a normie? Are you a bootlicker normie like everybody else? What's on your phone? What's on your television? What's your environment look like? Normies use anything and everything to sedate. But the big one is entertainment. It could be booze, it could be drugs, but mostly it's entertainment. Or if you're gonna be a top 1% badasser, you gotta double down on your education when things get tough. So the reason I'm talking about the difference is man, oh man, we don't know what's around the corner, but it could be the golden opportunity of our lifetime. Like if this thing goes south on us in the next year, the next 2 years, the next 5 years, and we fall into a dark depression or a recession, are you kidding me? That's when the rich get richer. That's when the smart get wealthier. So are you going to be ready for that? As a badass who's going to go the opposite way, you're going to invest in yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, be in the best shape of your life? Or are you going to be like the rest of the 99% normies who just get run over by a truck? They just get run over by a truck. Oh, the economy. Well, you know what? A badass makes his own economy. A badass takes personal responsibility for his health, for his fitness, for his mental health, for his bank account, for his marriage, for his relationship with his children. Like, it's the exact opposite. You're either a normie or a victim, or you're a badass top 1%er. So later today, and this is talk about the difference between normies, you know, the cupcakes and the snowflakes and the dumb bunnies, and the 99, the 1%ers. My email millions training, my first one is today at 1 minute to 11 a.m. And yes, you can still not miss out on probably the most valuable training I'm going to do this year. Just here's a couple of the things, a handful of the things that I'm going to be sharing on today's training at 10:59 a.m. Eastern that's going to kick ass and take names for my guys and gals. Number one, I'm going to be sharing on today's training my top 10 most opened emails in 2023. Think about that. I wrote and sent over 400 emails in 2023. Over 400 emails. And what am I doing today on the training? I'm handing the templates, the actual emails. We're going to break them down. I'm going to tell them why they were winners. And I'm going to be teaching my guys and gals the top 10 most open subject line emails. There's a reason, right? There's why did these top 10 emails get opened more than the other 390? So today I'm going to share my top 10 most opened emails, subject lines. You can take those 10 emails and you can basically make those subject lines yours. You just personalize them and man, you got the best 10 emails that I used last year. Secondly, what I'm going to show on this training, and I think this is a lot more important than open rates, is what were my top 10 most profitable emails. So out of those 400 emails, you know what? I don't give a shit about opens, but what were the 10 emails that sold the most money? Mucho fungal, as the great Gary Halbert would say. So we've broken down, I'm going to go through the top 10 emails, money drenching emails that I sent in 2023. And I got to tell you, some of this stuff is it just shocks me. Like if you said, Michael, pick the top 10 best open rates, subject lines, I wouldn't have picked these 10. If you said, Michael, what are the top 10 money drenching emails you would guess you sent? I wouldn't guess these 10. So it's fantastic feedback. And these again are templates. You can use these money drenching emails to do with what you want with them. And finally, I'm going to share a couple of emails, 2 or 3 emails actually, that I used to fill my $30,000 Champions Mastermind last year, one email. I had 4 guys register. I had like 11 guys apply, and I picked the 4 guys that qualified, and they paid 30 grand, and that's $120,000. And I'm from the not so great white north. That's like, geez, 170, 180, I would say almost 200K in American dollars with one simple email. I'll be sharing that tomorrow and going through what my thinking was and why it was so successful. One more thing is I'm going to be sharing the email I used to fill my World Builders Mastermind last year, the 10,000 per participant. And in that case, I sent 2 emails to get about 22, 23 applicants. And then I settled on the 14 men that I thought would be perfect for that program. That's 140K in 2 emails. And those emails took me about 15 or 20 minutes to write. They were ugly, plain text. They didn't even come with a video. And one email sold the Champions 150K. And then the other 2 emails sold the World Builders at 140K. So, I mean, 120, yeah. So there's the math. When I do math, strong men tremble. So this is the deal. Like, I'm going to be sharing those things on today's training. So here it is, bottom line. If you're not a member of my Email Millions, you still got time, but you gotta move your ass now. Hit the link below. I'll give you my absolute lowest rate, which is $147 per month. Now, think about that for a second. I write an email every week for you. I do a live training. I share templates like I'm sharing today. You know, my most profitable, my most open, my best subject lines, all this kind of stuff. And lots more. But I literally write you 52 emails this coming year that you can use. If you don't have a list, I teach you how to build a list from zero. I teach you how to build the list, how to capture emails slowly and gradually. I write the emails for you, 1 per week. And then on top of that, I can help you with the products, what to sell each and every time. But here's the thing, at $147 a month, that's like $4.94 a day. That's less than a coffee at progressive Starbucks. So instead of giving that anti-America company your $5, give it to yours relentless, yours capitalist. But seriously, like, it's less than $5 a day, $4.94 something a day to be part of Email Millions. And you can get started right now. Like, you'd have to be such a dumb bunny not to build a list this year and have me write the emails, 52 per year, 1 per week. And my God, you're going to 10x, 25x, 50x, 100x your income in what will probably be a tougher economy. Focusing on, like the great Matt Fury says, the 8th wonder of the world is email. It's the honey that brings in the money. So this is the year you can gradually build a tiny email list. It doesn't have to be big, 50, 100, 200 people, 500 people. Mail it consistently once or twice a week and sell them products that help and change and transform their lives. Be the good news guy. Be the guy that presses send, sits down and write yourself a swimming pool this year, or sit down and write yourself a new vehicle, or sit down and write yourself a ski vacation, or sit down and write yourself a different house or home, or your kid's college education. That's the ability of Email Millions. The link is below. I'll honor last year's price at $147. That price, I told you, is doubling. So today you get to jump on the training at 10:59 a.m. You end up with those templates, my top 10 most opened subject lines, my top 10 money-drenching profitable emails. And on top of that, I'm going to put in those emails from my mastermind that brought in 140K and or two of them. And then the other one, my champions, were brought in 120K. You don't think you can use those templates and personalize them and use them in your business? I've used these emails in every business I've ever been in, including the fundraising business, the barbershop business, the insurance business, the coaching business, the book selling business. Man, oh man, even my 11-year-old daughter, Emery, we've been here in Naples for 2 days, and she's relaunching her dog walking company from last year. She's 11 years old, and she said, how do I get my dog walking company going again in Naples, Daddy? I'm like, your email list. So she sends out an email last night. She writes it, and she's renewed 3 of the 4 people because she had a little, I mean, it's crazy. She had a little list of 6 people last year that showed interest in dog walking. She made 3 of them full-time clients, and now she's got the 3 back, plus she's got another person that wasn't here last year, all because of a 6-person email list. I mean, are you kidding me? You'd have to have brain damage not to sign up and make this your #1 priority for making money this year and fighting a bad economy. God, do the exact opposite of these normies, these friggin' guys with jobs around you, just over broke, these slaves who are sacrificing everything. A bootlicker sacrifices everything. They don't have time for date night. They don't have time to go to the gym. They don't have time to sleep well. They don't have time to read a book. They don't have time for their queen. They don't have time for their kids. They don't have time to fly and visit their grandkids because they're a fucking normie, because they work for the man. Do the exact opposite and take a step now in becoming a badass. A badass lives life and does business on his or her own terms. Has nothing to do with how much money you make. I don't give a shit how much money you make, long as you make enough money that you don't work for the man. Long as you make enough money to pay the bills so that you don't answer to anybody, so that you're not a Stephen A. Smith. You're not one of those high-paid bootleggers who pretends that they're some independent. They're not independent. They're owned by the corp. Make sure that you build an email list. You don't answer to anybody. You don't answer to Zuckerberg or all these social media villains, corrupt and evil to the core. Build independence with a solid email list. Every time you press send, you're sending money-drenching emails so that you, your wife, your children, your family can live life and do business on your own terms. At the end of the day, you'll answer for this. You'll either live your life, continue to live your life as a normie with mindless education, hiding, sedating, and self-medicating, or you'll step up this year and invest in education. A badass millionaire, a badass cleaner, a badass champion invests in what? Self-education. A normie does what? He invests in sedating and self-medicating. 2 types of people in the business world today. The normie or the badass. Which is it going to be? The link is below. If you got the brass, click it. I'll see you today at 10:59 a.m. Be on time. 2 words that changed my life from being a normie bootlicker to a badass top 1% king. Be relentless.